What down with the YouTube? It's Marty 2 Major, and I'm back with another reaction video. Today we gonna be reacting to 10 bloodiest gang wars of all time. Y'all go watch it with me, and we go dive right into it. We ain't gonna waste no time. Let's go.
These most populated areas, it's now a ghost town.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most violent clashes between antagonistic criminal enterprises.
The president of El Salvador has pledged to dismantle the country's gangs and called upon members to leave them or perish with them.
The Colombo crime family wars.
For the first time, one of New York's 5 families would be led by an American-born mafioso, Joseph Colombo.
It would be a jockeying for power that defined instability within the Colombo crime family. 3 separate internal conflicts erupted after the sect once known as the Profaci crime family shifted to leadership under one Joseph Colombo.
You gotta remember, this guy whacked out a lot of other mafia guys. That was his job, and the Colombo family was murder for hire.
The latter was shot and left paralyzed in 1971, leading to the rise of
I ain't gonna count anybody whacking niggas in the gang. Yeah, they deadly.
Persico as family head, taking over for the hospitalized Colombo. Finally, the 1990s ushered in yet another chaotic upheaval, as acting boss Victor Arena attempted to capitalize upon Persico's imprisoned status. The end results lasted 2 years and totaled 12 corpses, yet it would be Persico that would remain boss, running the family until his death in 2019. Nigerian bandit conflict.
In northwestern Nigeria, armed groups nicknamed the Bandits and local citizens' defense militias have been engaged in a violent conflict for decades.
Gang wars don't necessarily need to be contained solely within criminal enterprises. The Nigerian bandit conflict has been ongoing since 2011, as gangs of Fulani and Hausa bandits continually clash with Nigerian police. Local law enforcement agencies have struggled to de-escalate the conflicts between Nigerian farm and herding populations.
Mere months ago, Hassan was a wanted man. For 8 years, he led a force of over 1,000 so-called bandits, camping out and planning raids from the region's dense forests.
Meanwhile, environmental concerns have hampered both industries to the point where armed militias and bandits have engaged in bloody battles with vigilante groups as well as armed forces.
Gunmen rampage through Anka and Bukuyum districts, murdering dozens of people and dealt a heavy blow to authorities struggling to restore order.
Over 12,000 people have been killed in nearly 15 years of instability, while
over 12,000 people been killed. Hey, think about that. 12,000 people? You know how many people that is? Imagine 12,000 people getting slaughtered left and right.
50,000 people have been displaced from their homes. Honduran gang crackdown.
War taxes are imposed by the gangs. People must either pay, leave, or be killed.
The situation of gang violence in Honduras was a problem that became too dangerous to ignore back in 2022, when the country's government effectively cracked down on dangerous activity within its borders.
Gang threats occur nearly everywhere in Honduras. 5 months ago, an armed gang entered this neighborhood and forced 34 families out in one night.
This became known within Honduras as the Régimen de Excepción, whereby certain constitutional rights were suspended in support of public safety. Armed security forces, including military, were deployed to assist local police in the streets, while Honduras's prison system was expanded in order to house more inmates.
Many neighbors here say the military presence makes them feel safe, but this is only one of a few neighborhoods around the country where soldiers are patrolling.
It remains up for debate how effective these policies have been in curbing Honduras's notably high crime rate, although statistically, the crime rate has dropped since the crackdown was initiated back in 2022. Patriarcha takeovers. Organized.
Hey, when you hear about the crime rates being dropped, that's a good thing. You on the right track.
Crime in the Northeast United States doesn't only reside within New York City. New England also possesses an infamous history, including the Patriarcha crime family of Providence, Rhode Island.
Organized crime began to grow in many cities, particularly here in Providence, because we had a large immigrant population.
Raymond L.S. Patriarcha was a powerful and feared man within the criminal underworld who kept Providence a stronghold against out-of-state crime influences.
Worked his way up first doing so-called low-level kinds of crime, but eventually became the crime boss of New England.
That said, the 1960s saw Patriarca shed a lot of blood from local challenges to his power.
He had one guy who was a henchman by the name of Joe Barboza, who was responsible for carrying out 19 hits and murdering people that were ordered by Raymond Patriarca.
His son, Raymond Jr., however, was unable to live up to his father's legacy. The latter was eventually forced out of his position, resulting in yet more bloodshed for the heir apparent to the Patriarca throne.
I never felt that his heart and soul were really into becoming the crime boss, but because of heritage, he in fact became that crime boss.
State police, in the meantime, have referred to the family's current state as, quote, a shell of itself. The Irish Gang War.
A force of evil who created a reign of terror, ruling the Boston underworld and orchestrating countless cold-blooded killings.
We've all been to parties that got a little out of hand, but none of them probably escalated to the point of gang warfare. The impetus of the Irish Gang Wars arose from a drunken dispute over Labor Day weekend in 19...
That boy say, it don't matter if I catch you at the party, you go fill these knuckle sandwiches.
1961, but it wound up costing many New England mobsters their lives over the next 6 years. One of those associated with this initial incident was the actor Alex Rocco, who appeared in The Godfather, among many other high-profile productions.
Yeah, let's talk business, mate. First of all, you're all done. The Coyote family don't even have that kind of muscle anymore.
The main conflict between Charlestown's McLaughlin Gang and Somerville's infamous Winter Hill Gang ultimately resulted in over 60 mob associates in the New England area placed 6 feet underground. The Crips Bloods Gang War.
If we're born into it, you can't dodge, run away, and get out of this. This is what it is.
911, what's your emergency?
The conflict between these LA-founded gangs has been going on in one form or another since the early 1970s. The Crips are slightly older, having been established in 1969 via an alliance between leaders Raymond Washington and Stanley Tookie Williams, while the Bloods formed largely in response to violent Crip activity during this era. Truces have come and gone over the years, with some factions of both Crips and Bloods uniting against local police crackdown against their illegal activities. These have included everything from robbery and sex work to murder, while the number of dead was estimated in 2014 to be around 20,000.
If you had 15,000 people killing each other in any other country, there would be diplomats, there would be mediators, it would go to the UN.
The war against gangs.
The president of El Salvador has pledged to dismantle the country's gangs and called upon members to leave them or perish with them.
The case of 2022's crackdown against Salvadoran gang violence is similar to the situation in Honduras, specifically with its régimen de excepción. This state of emergency has effectively authorized both local and governmental forces in El Salvador to widen their net of arrests and prosecution for suspected gang activity. This includes members of the infamous MS-13 and 18th Street gangs, who have dominated the Central American criminal landscape for years.
Carlos Montaño is marked for life, branded a member of Barrio 18, one of 2 notorious gangs in El Salvador.
Nearly 84,000 people have been arrested under El Salvador's régimen de excepción at the time of this writing, resulting in the country's prison system substantially swelling under the pressure.
These alleged gang members are the first prisoners of the complex named the Center for the Confinement of Terrorism.
The gang war in Haiti.
Now to Haiti, one of the poorest countries on earth, with the capital Port-au-Prince largely controlled by criminal gangs.
The numbers don't lie, and in fact speak a terrible, troubling fact about Haiti's crisis of gang violence. It was estimated back in 2023 that approximately 90% of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, was under the control or dominating influence of gangs.
Once one of the city's most populated areas, it's now a ghost town.
A vigilante opposition dubbed the Bois Calais has emerged in an attempt to stem this tide, alongside armed support from other countries such as Kenya. There have been over 10,000 casualties as a result of the gang war in Haiti, with a further 700,000 others being displaced over this chaotic and violent conflict.
So just that building over there, the red with the blue, is where the snipers are shooting at you.
You hear the shots?
Yep.
The Yamaichi War.
The Yamaichi War.
That boy say, you hear the shots? You hear the shots? What's she even doing though? You don't got no weapon. Only thing you got in your head is a helmet. And I'm pretty sure the enemy's got something way bigger than your helmet.
Battled the Kansai region of Japan. It still serves as an example of some of the most horrific crimes the Yakuza are capable of.
It was a gang war that almost felt cinematic, the sort of bloody violence one might have witnessed in one of Japan's notable Yakuza films from the 1970s. The Yamaichi War took place in the 80s, however, and left over 36 members of the country's criminal underworld dead.
During the worst of the war, newspaper front pages had daily scorecards, tallying up the deaths and serious injuries caused by the Yamaichi War.
The Ichiwakai was a splinter offshoot group from Kobe's Yamaguchi-gumi gang, one that defiantly made its mark with the assassination of the latter's leader, Masahisa Takenaka. Japanese journalists were said to have routinely written about the recurring series of deadly gun battles between forces of the Yamaguchi-gumi and the Ichiwakai. This war would ultimately end in favor of the Yamaguchi-gumi, although the numbers of both gangs were decimated by deaths and arrests. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest bloody mafia conflict. Also resulted in a birth, however, specifically that of what's now known as the Five Families.
In 1957, the Five Families were nearing 30 years of existence in New York City. 30 years of success, largely because there had been 30 years of relative peace.
Salvatore Maranzano's forces would end up seizing control of mafia operations from its former leader, Giuseppe Masseria, in just under a year. Maranzano wouldn't be able to enjoy his self-appointed status as capo di tutti I capi, aka boss of all bosses, for very long, however, as his associate Lucky Luciano would soon lead a new, younger generation of mafioso, orchestrating Maranzano's death and establishing a new structure for organized crime. Which gang conflict do you feel had the longest lasting effects? Let us know in the comments.
My neighborhood was taken over by gangs. I left and went to live in Solino for safety. Today again, I'm on the run to save my life and my children.
Man, it's crazy what these parents gotta go through because y'all wanna be gang members, think y'all violent. Y'all, then would be crazy. Y'all probably not even like that. That'd be the crazy part. But it's Marty 2 Major and I'm checking out.